Okay, so this will be the last of our 4 lessons on how to graph parabolas. It is important that you submit all of the assignments from last week and this week. That's how I'm going to be assessing this unit. So please, if you haven't done the previous assignments, if you can get them completed and submitted, and then there will be one more to complete with this one here. Next week, we will be moving on to some algebraic skills. So if you can wrap up the parabola work this week, that would be great. What I want to start with first is just a summary of all the transformations or all the things that we've been doing to this parabola. And it really comes down to we've investigated 3 different numbers. This number in the front, this number that's inside the bracket, and this number here that is on the end. The first one that we did was looking at this number here that's on the very end. It's the one that shows up after the squared. And this was the number that tells us how to move this up or down. The number that was in the bracket told us how to move this left or right. And then this number out front actually did 2 things because there was 2 pieces. There was the number piece and then there was the sign. And this was our stretch or our direction. So if we look specifically at this example here and I focus on this first number, this is actually in our table of information that we write out is going to tell us 2 things. The negative is telling us that this now will open down. If it's positive, it will remain opening up. And the number tells us what to do with our y pattern. And remember that we did this by first stating that for our base parabola, what we saw is the y pattern is 1, 4, 9, 16, and so on and so on. So we said then our new y pattern was to take these values and we multiply them by 3. Whatever that number is the one that we will multiply by. So if our y value or our coefficient is 3, then we now multiply by 3 so that we get 3, 12, 27, and 48. And again, we said some of these values at the end will get too big to graph, and that's fine. We graph as many as will fit on our graph. The number that's inside, we need to be careful. We said that when we are adding, that this would actually make this go to the left. So in this case, we would go left 2. And this number here, when we are subtracting, that would make it go down 4. If we put those 2 together, then if I go left 2 and down 4 when I fill in this information, that means our vertex, which would normally be at the origin, is now going to go left 2, down 4. In other words, our vertex will be then at -2, -4. So that's how we take these 3 numbers then and apply them to these specific pieces of information. So we'll do that here, and then we'll finish off and we'll look at, well, what does that actually do for our graph? So in this case here, if I start with the vertex, okay, this +3 is telling us that we're going to go to the left 3. So my vertex will be -3. And the number on the end is going to tell us that we're going down 1. So the other piece of my vertex will be -1. This number here, then we use the number out front to fill in both of these values here. Since it is positive, then this will continue to open up. And our y pattern, again, I like to do this in 2 steps. The base y pattern, 1, 4, 9, 16. We saw that last week when we graphed our base parabola. And now we have our new y pattern, which again in this case is saying that we are going to multiply by the number that is there. So we are going to multiply here by 0.5. So if I do that, I end up with 0.5. 0.5 times 4 will give us 2. Again, if you need to use a calculator to do this, go ahead and do that. 9 times 0.5 will give us 4.5. And then 16 times 0.5 will give us 8. There's our new y pattern to graph this. So if I'm going to graph this, I'm basically just now going to take these three pieces of information in the order that they're there and use that to come up with what does the parabola look like. So we start with the vertex, which is -3, -1. There's our vertex for this. And then our y pattern tells us how to draw the rest of the points. And all we do is we always start at the vertex and we just use this pattern to tell us how to plot them. So if I come over one space, the first number tells us that we're going to go up just 0.5. Always back to the vertex. The second number tells us if we go over two spaces, I now need to go up 2. The third number says from the vertex, if I come over 3 spaces, I need to go up 1, 2, 3, 4.5. And the last number tells us that if we come over 4 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to go up now 8 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spaces, and that will put our last point right there. This pattern works on the right side as well as the left side, so now we can use the exact same pattern here on the left-hand side. So left 1 is up 1, left 2 is up 2, left 3 is up 4.5, and left 4 is up 8. And as I do that, I'm actually just using this side here. The two sides will be symmetrical, so I'm using this side to help me out as I graph this. And there's our parabola, and we've applied all the things that we've learned to this. Where is the new vertex? Which way is it opening? And what is that new y pattern? In this parabola here, then, move left 3, down 1, and the y pattern is now squishing this a little bit so it's a little bit flatter than our base parabola. We'll do it again for this one here, so same idea. This time we have x minus 4 in the brackets. So remember, a -4 inside the brackets will actually make this go to the right. Notice what happens that when we have a number inside the brackets, plus makes this -3 and minus makes this +4. Outside of the brackets, we have +9. That will make this go up 9. Notice that this one here does exactly what is there. We don't change the sign on this one. -1 means down 1, +9 means up 9. So the one inside the brackets, the sign changes, but the one that is outside the brackets, the sign does not change. Direction of opening, that's where I look at this number here. So that negative will tell me that this will open down. And my y pattern, when I did it up here, I multiplied by +3. We could have as well multiplied this by -3, and then we would have got all these values here to be negative. That's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to say let's multiply everything by -2. The negative officially is telling us that we're opening down, but if we put the negatives in our y pattern here, that's just another reminder that these points have to go down. So I'm going to say my base y pattern, 1, 4, 9, and 16. And my new y pattern, if I multiply by -2, will give us then -2, -8, -18, and -32. If you don't have the negatives there, it's not wrong, but it is just a good reminder that this is opening down, and that's why we see negative values here. As we plot this then, we start with our vertex, so right 4 up 9, so right 4 up 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 at the very top of our graph. That's fine, because remember this one is going to open down, so we will be graphing below the vertex here. And then again, we use this y pattern here to tell us where to move. So if I move one spot to the right, this -2 is telling us that we're going to go down 2. If I move 2 spots to the right, the -8 tells us from our vertex 1, 2 that we will go down now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The third number then, -18, tells us if we go 3 spots to the right, I need to go down 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 at the very bottom of our graph, so it just fits on. The pattern that we use for the right side, we're going to use the exact same pattern on the left side. So again, by symmetry, we can almost just copy these points out. If I go one spot over, that has to be down 2. If I go 2 spaces over, that has to be down 8. I no longer have to count them out because I can see from the other point where to go. And if I go 3 spots over or 3 lines over, we need to be careful that we follow the right line all the way to the bottom. Will put us here. Connect the dots. Okay, this time because we multiplied by -2, it is upside down and it is stretched out, or the parabola looks a little bit skinnier than in its base case. So there is our parabola. If you have any questions or concerns, again, please send me a message and I can help you work through this. And then a reminder that this is the last assignment that we're going to work on, graphing parabolas. So please make sure you take the time to submit this assignment as well as the previous 4 assignments, as that's what I'm going to use to assess this unit and your understanding of the topic. Have a good day, guys.